Hello, I'm back after a week off, so welcome back to Skip the Small Talk. Sorry I missed a week. I feel like I was going around in circles about that for loads because I was like, I don't want to give myself permission too easily to have a week off because then I know what I'm like and I'll always take the easiest option. So if I know that I can take a week off, like in future weeks, I'm like, I could just take a week off. And I don't want to do that. Like I want to be consistent with it. But also I feel like it's a very fine line that I need to give myself permission to be able to have a week off, or else like this isn't going to be consistent for me. Do you know, like I'm not going to be it's not going to be sustainable for me. I'm not going to be able to do this consistently and sustainably if I don't take a break when I need to take a break. So I'm hoping that like that's kind of an okay pattern for having time off, like maybe doing 5 weeks on, 1 week off is maybe okay. Hopefully we'll see. But yeah, thank you for coming back because you're here. My plan for today was to do a Q&A because that's what I planned for last week. So I have like the Q&A questions in a question box on Instagram. But I actually feel quite stressed today. So you're getting another rant from me, but you seem to quite like the rants because I think like they're relatable things that we all feel and we like struggle to get off our chest. Sorry, I'm like, if you're watching, I'm like playing with my t-shirt. I'm quite warm, I'm quite sweaty. I'm on holiday. It's not like the brightest sunshine, but it is quite warm. And I've just been for like quite a long walk. So I'm rather warm. But I knew that if I didn't wear that, I've just got like a sports bra underneath. And I knew that I would just be really conscious of like well, I should not be slouching anyway, but do you know what I mean? I feel like I would just have like rolls without it. So I was like, I'll put my t-shirt back on, but now I'm a bit warm. So if I'm a bit sweaty, then apologies. But yeah, my plan was to do a Q&A, but I do feel quite stressed. So I thought I would rant about what I'm stressed about, which will hopefully make me feel better and hopefully will be relatable for you because you seem to all relate to the things when I'm ranting about them anyway. My rant for today is that nobody likes a direct woman. Nobody likes a direct woman. And this is like, I think, especially for autistic people, like autistic women and people marginalised for their gender experience this. Throughout the podcast, I'm just going to say women because otherwise I'm going to trip myself up trying to say women and people marginalised for their gender every time. But like just to preface before I start, I know this isn't an experience that is unique to women, that non-binary folks and people marginalised for their gender also experience this. And also, I'd like to preface before that this can be heightened as well for women and people marginalised for the gender of colour. But I don't want to preface that all the way through because otherwise I'll just like get tripped up on trying to do that rather than like actually saying what I think. Do you know what I mean? But like just to preface all the way through, I'm not talking just about women. I'm talking about women and people marginalised for their gender. And I know that my experience of this is lesser as a white woman than some people experience it. But yeah, my rant for today is nobody likes a direct woman. And I am feeling this more and more. And this, again, to preface, is like not a direct dig at anybody in my life. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, is this an like indirect about me? No, it's not. It's just a pattern that I'm picking up like throughout my whole entire 27 years on this planet. So it's not about you. It's about society and people in general. Okay. But this is what I mean. Like this is even before I'm even getting to start my sentence about the fact that no one likes a direct woman. I'm having to preface all of my directness in order to like not be understood and not be like pulled up on it and all of these things. And I do think it's important that we like highlight our privilege. And I'm not saying, again, look at me prefacing even more, I'm not saying we shouldn't have to do that. Like it's important that we use our voices for the right thing, but I do just think me right now is proof of why I struggle so much to be direct, because I have to do all of that backlog of prefacing before I'm able to be direct. But yeah, I do just think I'm really noticing more and more at the moment that I will often say that communication is a thing that I struggle most with as an autistic person. Like it causes me a really tricky time that like I'm just not able to communicate what I feel and what I want and what I know in my brain to other people. But I think when I actually like deep it, the communication isn't the issue. Like the issue is all of the concerns that I have about how my communication is going to be taken. Like if I was able to just communicate in the way that came most naturally to me with no concern to how that was going to be like misunderstood or misconstrued or how that was going to like make people feel within reason. Like I'm not saying that I should be able to just be nasty, but that I wasn't having to think about, oh, how is this person going to maybe like take this, or how are they going to misconstrue this, or how are they going to think that my tone means, or how are they going to this, or how are they going to that. That's what makes the communication so difficult. Like if I was able to just unload my brain in its natural form to another person without any of those worries or concerns, I don't think that I would find that as difficult. Like some days, yes, I don't always want to use my voice, but I think a lot of that is the exhaustion of always using my voice and it being taken in the wrong way. I do think that it's like the concern of being misunderstood that is more draining than the actual communication itself. I've been listening to the audiobook of the book The Courage to Be Disliked at the moment. And it's really interesting to me of like that, like freedom. So the part of like the book is like freedom is being disliked by other people, because freedom means that you have been yourself enough to be disliked. And I was like, that is so true. And they also talk a lot about like how all problems that like human beings face are interpersonal problems. And the more that I deep it, I'm like, yeah, like my issue with communication, for example, isn't an issue with the communication itself. It's an issue with the relationship with other people, like how that's misunderstood, and I'm always concerned about how that's coming across and all of that jazz. And yeah, I just think that it's something that I'm really tired of. And I think people say that they're like a direct woman, and I think we like are under the impression that we're getting to a point in life where we are able to be more direct as women, but I actually just think that there's so far to go. Like I think even women who are praised for being direct are having to be so calculated in the way that they are direct and so controlled in the way that they are being direct, they're not actually being direct. You know, like no one's actually just able to just like say what they mean what they say, communicate their points, raise their concerns, and not be like nicey about everything. Like everything is always so controlled and so masked. And I just think it's something that I'm really struggling with a lot, of just like the exhaustion of always like having to not only think about what I want to say and how like I want to say it, I'm also then being like, well, how, if I say it how I want to say it, how is that going to be like, is there room for that to be misunderstood, and is there room for that to be taken in the wrong way, and are people going to assume that I'm some sort of being, I always say like in therapy, I feel like with, I guess like the world in general, but it's like, I feel like there's this like underlying assumption that I am a nasty person, and that people are like waiting to have proof of that. So it's like, if I say something that is like a neutral thing, people will always assume that that is like from a bad place of like either like being nasty or like bad intention or like being manipulative or being whatever it might be, rather than like either just taking it as a neutral thing it is, or the other way of like assuming the best in what I'm saying. Like if I'm communicating something, I don't know, an example that like isn't something that's gonna, again, people are gonna like listen to and think that I'm talking about them, but instead of like the me saying something, it's always like assumed to be the worst. Like if I'm saying like I don't know, I feel stressed out, I feel like if I was to say that to anybody, the assumption would be that like that is an attack on them in some way. Like I feel stressed out because you're not doing a good enough job of like looking after me, or I feel stressed out because you're not being a good enough friend and taking the stress off my plate, or I feel stressed out because you have done this thing to cause me stress. Whereas it's not like seen in the positive angle that's like, I feel stressed out, please can you reassure me as to why I shouldn't be stressed out, or I feel stressed out and this is a good thing that I feel able to tell you that I'm stressed, which shows that I value your relationship and that I care a lot about you as a person, and I feel able to communicate openly with you. Like the sentence is always, I feel, taken in that like more negative light, as if I'm saying something bad, when it's like a completely neutral sentence. Like I'm just communicating that. And I do think that's like so exhausting to like always have to like preface times 100 that it's not that like bad assumption of what you're saying, it's a positive thing that I'm saying this, I just need to communicate it with you, to the point that like 99% of the time I won't end up communicating it, and then I'll end up feeling more stressed. Or like when I do communicate it, even when you preface it with the positive side, or like you think that you're trying to like put like the packaging around it, that's what I sort of feel like neurotypical masking conversation is, where it's like the sandwich almost of like, here's the thing that I want to say, so I'm going to say something nice before it and I'm going to say something nice after it. Even when I like make the effort to do that, I feel like it still skews off in that nasty angle. And I don't know what it is about, I don't know if that's like an assumption that people have about all direct women, or I don't know if it's like something about me. I think it is something that we have about all direct women, because I don't think this is a unique experience I'm talking about. But like I sometimes think like, is this just, do we have an underlying assumption that everybody is like nasty or bad, or we always take everything that everybody says bad? Or is it something to do with like my tone like as an autistic person, or like my demeanor as an autistic person, in that we know that like from like studies, like we tend to rub people up in the wrong way without like doing anything like to do that. Like there's no reason for that. It's just like studies have shown that people can like sense that something's like air quotes off about autistic people. Like, is it that means that people always have this underlying bad assumption of me? Yeah, is it something that we do, like, is it just me? Is it me as a person that I'm doing something wrong, that people always have this like bad assumption of me? But it really, really bothers me. And like, first of all, that it's like just so exhausting to have any sort of communication. And then it sort of like adds to the whole like RSD thing that I was talking about, I don't know, last week, the week before. Of like, it then makes me unable to be direct because I'm just scared that I'm going to get like pushed back in. And then it's like, you then just like keep yourself to yourself, and then because you're not like practiced in being direct, you become even less direct because you sort of just like amplify all the stress and worry that you felt beforehand, like the last time that you did it, because you've not like practiced it in the meantime. But I just think my whole life is like controlled by not wanting to do or say the wrong thing that's going to upset other people, even though like I'm not a bad person. It's not like I'm like this like dictator, nasty, awful, I don't know what word I want to even say, like bitch that's like storming around and I like want to cause trouble. Like, I believe that I am such a nice person, like I'm such a good-natured person, like I just want the best for people, like I want to be kind to people, I want people to feel good, I want to love people, I want to be loved, I want to be cared for, I want to be caring. Like, but so why am I spending so much energy in having to like convince people of that all the time? Like, why is it not just like sort of like taken for granted that like Ellie is a nice person, so we will read anything or we will take anything or we will assume anything that she says to be nice, good, or well-intentioned? Like, it's like I have to spend all of my waking hours to drag you away from, not even like to be convinced that I'm a good person, but just to move you away from that I'm a bad person to neutral. And I just think it's like, yeah, and I think obviously this is like heightened by the fact that like I'm a person on the internet, so there's like hundreds of thousands of people, or thousands of people at least, reading everything that I say. So there's like more opportunity for that to be misunderstood and misconstrued because there's more people reading it by nature. But I do think that I still feel it just as much in my personal relationships and like the people that know me personally. Maybe like not so much, like I'm not saying that my friends will think that I'm a nasty, awful person, because then they wouldn't be great friends. But you know, like I feel like I'm just as aware of it in like people that know me well as I am with like strangers on the internet, that someone's always going to find something to like disagree with or take the wrong like end of the stick from, or like not understand that I can't like preface and like provide nuance for every single thing that I say in any sort of situation. Yeah, it's just a lot. It's ongoing and it's exhausting. And I just really find it very interesting that, like, I think if a man was to say the same thing, like, I am stressed, if we use that example that I said at the start, like, I don't think that would be taken as a nasty thing. I don't think that it would be. I think it would be taken for the words that came out of their mouth of I am stressed. Like, and I do think if anything, people would jump to be like, oh, well, what can I do to make you not stress? And it's like, that's what I'm asking for. Like, I want that to, and not that I want everyone to like bow down and kiss my feet and like be a slave to me. But when I'm sharing, I am stressed, that's not an attack. That's not any accusations. That's not an insult. That is like, if anything, it's a call for reassurance. It's for you to go, why are you feeling stressed? Is there anything that I can do to make you feel less stressed? What do you need from me to not feel that way? Or it's just that I'm sharing that with you because you're my friend and I want to get it off my chest. But I don't know. I just feel like anything that is like remotely direct is always just not taken for directness either. My biggest pet hate in the whole entire world is like that I will say over and over and over and over and over again, like I must have said it 100 times, like on the internet and in real life more, I just say it all the time, that like I will generally always say what I mean and mean what I say. Like if I say something, the words that I have said, they're all that I mean. There's no hidden context, there's no hidden meaning, there's nothing that's like lingering behind the scenes there. That's all I mean by it. And if I wanted to say something else that you're like assuming is there as a hidden meaning, I would have just said that thing. Like I would say it. Like I don't have the ability to do like subtext and context and hidden meaning. I can't do that. I'm a direct communicator. But like, I will say that over and over and over again. I will scream that from the rooftops. I could wear a sign around my neck. I could wear a t-shirt that says, I say what I mean and mean what I say. But still, people will always jump to that conclusion of assuming that I'm saying something that I'm not actually saying. They'll assume that there's some like hidden subtext or meaning, and that's quite frustrating, because it's like, I don't know what else I can do here. Like, I am aware that this is like in part a difference in me, rather than like it's not someone else's. Well, I do kind of think that it's someone's job to listen to the words that you're saying rather than the hidden subtext that they think is in there. But like, I'm aware that it's a difference in me, so I will like do everything I can to like try and account for that, and it still doesn't seem to be enough. And I also I was thinking of something else, and I can't remember. It's gone. Where's it gone? I don't know. What was I talking about? I was talking about that there's always some, like, people always assume a hidden subtext. I don't know where I was going with that. I don't know. It's gone forever. I feel like I'm stressed because I can see that my camera's, it's not even on that low battery. It's only on 20% now. I was looking because I could see that it was like flashing red. So I was thinking that it was on like 10%. So I was like, it's going to cut off in the middle of a sentence. But like, it started on 34% and it's now on 20%. So I still have like the same amount plus more to go. So there's no need to stress. This is what it's like to try and do a podcast with ADHD, because I just like want to do it now. So I want to get outside while the sun's out. Well, it's not fully out, it's a bit cloudy, but then I was like, I need to just record it now, or else it's going to drag on all day and I'm not going to have done it. And then my camera was not charged because I obviously forgot to charge it after I did it last time. But yeah, I actually really don't know what I was saying then about being direct. Just I'm really tired with it, and I don't feel able to be direct in anything that I'm doing ever. And I'm really tired of it, and I really just wish that people would just take what I say as what I mean and go from there. And if they are, the other thing, this is not what I was going to think, maybe it'll come back to me, it probably won't now, maybe it'll be next week's episode, but I also wish that like if people are going to make those assumptions, like at least like check that with me first. Like at least go, you've said that you're stressed, I'm taking that to mean that I haven't done a good enough job of looking after you or being your friend or whatever it might be. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying? Because if I haven't said it in black and white, it's like that, it's just like taken as fact without me even saying it, or then without it even checked with me. And it's like, if you were to come back and be like, this is what I'm taking from that message, is that what you intended for me to take from it? No, obviously that's not what I intended you to take from it. I intended you to take from it that I am like venting to you, or I needed some reassurance, or I needed some comfort, or whatever it might be. But then like, I'm like, well, should I say that? But then it's like, I don't think I can really preface much more than I can. But yeah, I do think it ends up in the more and more that time goes on, the more and more I'm aware that I'm not being direct. And then sometimes I think, do you know what? Like when I'm reading this book, listening to this book, I do sometimes like have the realization of like, it would be so freeing to just like stop giving a fuck, like to just like start saying exactly what I mean. But I do honestly think that like within days, I would have like lost every single person in my life. I don't know, maybe that's like me being like fear of abandonment vibes, and like the RSD of like being convinced that if I was just my true self, everyone would hate me. Why does it always come back to that with this podcast? Like, why does every single thought or like concern that I have always come back to me being convinced that deep down everyone hates me and is going to leave me? Anyway, no, I do think that like I do sort of have this belief that if I was to just from now be like, do you know what? Fuck it. Like, I'm just going to start saying what I need to say. I'm going to start being direct. I'm going to stop prefacing, and I'm going to like, if someone else, so like the whole thing about the book is like thinking about so they call it like tasks, and like whose task is that, like which person does this task belong to? So it's like my task is to communicate what I need to communicate, and how it's understood, that's not my task. How someone else understands it, like that, how someone else understands it, that's their task, how they understand it, right? I don't know if I'm making much sense. If you've not read the book, you should go read the book. So it's like about the tasks. So it's like, if I was to just own my tasks and go from this day forward, my task is to say what I mean, not be nasty, because I'm not a nasty person, not be rude, not be insulting, not be accusatory, not be like challenging, like not in like a, I'm allowed to say things that are challenging, but like not to be like challenging someone's like authority or like being or whatever it might be, but just to say what I mean and not have to preface all the time. I do actually think that like it would just be non-stop. Like it would be like if I feel as frustrated when I already do so much of the prefacing, like how quick would it be for like me to get cancelled and for everyone to hate me if I was just saying things like, and that's the thing, like what concerns me is that like I'm not a bad person. Like I'm not nasty. I don't have bad intentions. I don't have a nasty bone in my body. Like I'm the softest human to ever exist ever. But I still feel like if I was just to be direct in my communication, even though what I'm being direct with isn't like bad content, if that makes sense, it's like that there's no like ill intent or malice to any of that, the stuff that I'd been direct with. It would just be saying like, I don't know, I think this could be better, or I don't want to go to this place, or I feel stressed, or I don't know, I'm upset by how you treated me, or I'm upset that this happened, or you hurt me when you did this, or I don't know, what else could I be direct about? Like, this is what I want from my career. This is how I see, like, this is what I think you should be doing for me. This is, I don't know, anything that's like just direct. And it's none of that is like nasty stuff. It's just like, I don't know, stuff, like neutral stuff. But I do think that like, I don't know, like I think it would take me like an hour for someone to hate me just by being like that, being a direct, of being like, even stuff like I like now my mum's gone out for it, like my mum's on holiday with us, my brother's here, my brother's girlfriend was here but she's gone home, and like my grandma and granddad are here but they're in another hotel, right? And I like can feel myself getting to a point of being like, I need some time on my own. I think that's someone next door. They're probably listening to all this thinking, this girl needs therapy. Anyway, I do. But yeah, if I was like, I get to a point where I'm like, I can feel that I need some time on my own. And even that, I can't say to my mum, do you mind if I just like go for a walk on my own this evening? Because I feel concerned that she's going to take that as like, that I don't want her around, or she's going to like worry about me, or she's going to like, what? Like, I can't even, you know, that like, there is nothing that is bad about, do you mind if I have some time on my own? She'd probably like that. She probably would like it, but I can't even say it because I'm scared that she's going to think bad of it. But I do actually, I think with my mum more than anyone, I'm like slightly getting there where like I'm able to. And she's like very like open with me about the fact that like you can tell me if you need some time on your own. Like you can be direct with me. And still in that situation, my brain's still like, nah, that's nasty. That's nasty. You should feel guilty if you want some time on your own. Or do you know, like this is what I'm trying to explain by this, is that like none of the stuff that I'm not asking that I can like go around the world and be like, you're shit, you're useless, I hate you, I hate what you're wearing. I'm not asking to be direct in that way because they're not thoughts that I have or that I want to share with people. The things that I want to be direct in is like, this is what I want, this is the standards that I want things to be held to, this is what I need from you in our relationship, this is how I feel about you, this is, I don't know, what I want to do, this is what I need, this is like, that's all of it. They're all completely like neutral things I want to be able to be direct about. I don't want to be like walking around again like some dictator that's just like hurling direct abuse at people. That's not what I'm missing from my life. What I'm missing is being able to like say that stuff that is like neutral but for some reason seems to make people defensive without the concern of them getting defensive, or at least checking the defensive take that they, because I know like I'm someone that experiences a lot of RSD. I know that sometimes people can take something different than the meaning that is said. Like I know that that's a thing that can happen, but like at least check with me, do you know, before you assume that I'm this like nasty horrible person. At least like double check that you've made the right like you jumped to the right conclusion, I think is what I'm saying. But I do just think like in general, like even, I don't know if this was a thought that I was thinking earlier, but this feels like a deja vu thought, but I think it was that I was thinking about it before I started recording. But I do think that like even the women that we like think to be direct, I think maybe I've actually just talked about this, are like very like controlled in the way that they're direct, if you think what I mean. Like I think of like in terms of like in the space of the work that I'm doing, like in terms of like women who are like in the public eye, creators, I think like I jumped to like Grace Beverley, and that she's like quite direct of like, this is how I'm building my business, this is what I'm doing, like I'm not going to be ashamed about my achievements. But like still I see so often like her posting stories of like the fact that she has to be very careful with how she is, like she's still not being 100% direct, she's still having to like preface and like not share certain parts, and like, you know, be very controlled in the way that she is like air quotes direct. And like I do think that's the case of like all of these people that we like think that these women that we think that we celebrate for like, wow, look at her, she's so direct. They're not actually as direct as they want to be. Like my friend Michelle, who I think I spoke about before as well, because she was at the NTAs with me, like her whole thing is like that she's the queen of boundaries. Like all of her books are about like setting boundaries, like how to have boundaries in relationships. Her new book's about like how to have boundaries in friendships. Like that is her thing, that she is like a well boundaried woman. And even like when I've been speaking to her about like similar situations, like she is like says that like she always has to like moderate her tone and like think about how she's framing things to people, because even when the bloody person who is known as the queen of boundaries, even when she tries to just like set boundaries or be direct, people even like jump to bad assumptions with her. So it's like that is someone that I would have like, if I was to like have to like name people that like those people are very direct people, like, and like celebrate them for that and not think that it's a bad thing, like she would be up there on that list. But even like she is like saying that she has to like moderate what she's saying, you know, so she's not able to even be direct, even though like that's what we celebrate her for. And I just think it's really exhausting. And I just wish, I think like I again would like love for people to be direct with me. Like it would be so much easier if I didn't have to always think like, am I missing something here? Like what does this person want from me? What does this person need from me? How does this person feel about me? Like I understand that like it's easy to take things defensively, but I do think that like if we were all just direct all of the time, things would be so much easier. Like if someone was to turn around to me and say like, I'm feeling stressed out today, I'd be like, oh, that's great. Like not it's great that you're stressed, but like it's great that I know that you're stressed. So now I'm not assuming, like I now have some context for the rest of the day that you're stressed. So that like that means that like if you're being different with me, I have a context for why you're being different with me. And it also is like informing me of how I should behave around you now, because it's like I know that you're stressed. So my role now is to like maybe like try to reassure you, or to like ask if you want to rant about it, or to distract you, or whatever it might be. Like I, as someone who struggles to read between the lines, I love direct communication. And I would love, you know, maybe like hurts in the moment. Like I'm thinking like, I don't know, maybe in a dating situation, like I would much, like in the moment it might feel upsetting for someone to be like, look, I just don't see this going anywhere further with you. But I would rather them say that and it hurt for 5 minutes and then I know that, rather than spend the next like 6 months being like, does this person like me? Does this person not like me? Like what's happening here? What's going on? Like I think directness is underrated, and I think we still hate a direct woman, or we love to hate a direct woman, and that's tiring, and it's something that I would love to change. I would love to start, but then it's like if I don't even feel able to start, then who the heck's gonna? Maybe I'm gonna do like a challenge, a sponsored challenge of like, you know, when people do like a sponsored silence, I'm gonna do like a sponsored direct day of like, I will just say what I need to say for that entire day and see what's the worst that can happen. My camera is flashing at me now to say only 10% battery remaining. I think we're like nearly at half an hour anyway, so like it's probably good that I'm going to shut up now. But that I actually do feel better. Again, this feels like therapy. And again, I always say this isn't like directly about autism or ADHD though. I mean, like the fact that I'm autistic does like sort of like in influence, I'm like, what word am I looking for here? It does influence the fact that I am like, it does shape the fact that I'm direct. But this isn't specifically just about that. Like I feel like a lot of non-autistic women will also, and people marginalised for their gender, will also relate to just not feeling like they're ever able to be direct in any situation whatsoever. But yeah, it's flashing at me saying only 10% remaining, so I'm gonna go. I feel better. Thank you for listening to me rant. I hope that you feel maybe like at least someone relates to you and your lack of directness. Please leave comments with like your thoughts on this, because I do sometimes think, am I just like getting wound up? Like, am I just looking for things to be wound up about? But like, yeah, please let me know. And if you have any like frameworks that are helping you be better in direct communication while also minimizing like the risk of being direct, please let me know. I would love a little framework. I'd love little prompts to use. Maybe I should start using, I know people like use like ChatGPT to like run their messages through it to like make sure that like how it's going to come across. But then I also don't like love the fact of AI ruining the planet. So that's a positive thought to leave us on. I'm going to go. I'm proud of myself for getting through this today, because I actually really didn't want to do it today. I hope that my directness has not upset anybody. And I'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.